So, I forgot how to paint portraits? That sounds a bit dramatic, I know, but let me explain. If you know me, you know that I love painting portraits. In fact, one of the first art related memories I have as a child is drawing my great grandmother's portrait. I sat on her table at her house in the living room, I believe. I remember drawing every single lines on her face. And yes, when I say lines, I mean wrinkles. My dad intercepted the drawing before she saw it, telling me it was really good, but he would show it to her later. I must have been 5 or 6, maybe. I kept on drawing portraits of strangers, of people I find interesting or that I admire, and of course of people I love or the people that they love. Much, much later, after a long break from anything art related, I started painting them again. And that's what I've shared on this channel. I usually find the process really, really relaxing. I would go as far as saying that it's a kind of a strange self-care practice. I love mixing colors of someone's eyes or skin on my palette. I like to play with lights and shadows. I find people's faces fascinating and beautiful. And after all those years, I still love painting wrinkles and dimples and curly hair and big noses, and I love it just as much as I did when I was 5 or 6 years old. I guess I enjoy exploring the feeling I get from someone's face for myself first, and then pass it on to whoever is looking at my paintings. So you can imagine my surprise when, after a couple of months of focusing on something else in my art practice, I found that I couldn't paint portraits anymore. For context, I have just finished illustrating 2 books that will come out later this year. I have also been experimenting a lot on my personal book project, so I hadn't really painted a portrait in about 3 months, I would say. I really didn't think it would be a big problem, but then last week I sat down like I have a million times before, and I couldn't, for the life of me, remember how to start sketching a face. I had to really battle through it. What usually takes 20 minutes or so took me 3 days. I couldn't get anything right. I made so many mistakes. I painted and repainted the same parts 3 or 4 times. What is happening? Is my peaceful painting practice gone forever? Is this some sort of creative yips? As in, maybe I'm just thinking about this too much? Wait a minute. Am I even able to paint at all anymore? Those are all the thoughts that went through my mind. Before ripping out all of my hair and throwing my art supplies out the window, I painted 2 portraits more, just to make sure. And those were the best portraits I have ever painted. Now, this is real life, my friends. It was worse. It was way worse. I gave myself a pep talk. I listened to some of my favorite sad songs, and then I painted 2 more and 2 more. Then finally, it started to click when I painted actually the one that you're watching now. So it doesn't really illustrate the point that I'm trying to make in this video, but fortunately, I really struggled with the lady that's on the other side. Let me show you. I had to paint some white over one of her eyes and her mouth. and start from scratch. I will show you how she ends up looking at the end of the video. Then I painted a bigger painting and tried to really challenge myself with lighting and shadows. I really tried to remind my hands of what they had done so many times before, and I felt the peace slowly coming back, even in the struggle. I guess I wanted to make this video to remind myself and everybody who watches it that nothing is linear. We get better, then worse, but never as bad as we were when we started, if that makes sense. I'm going to show you a couple of portraits that I did at the beginning of my sketchbook practice so you can see what I mean by that. If you are really interested, there is a video actually of all the portraits I painted in my first sketchbook. It's on the channel, and I will put a link in the description and up here somewhere. You can tell, or at least I can tell, how my practice has evolved over time. And it's definitely not in a straight line. But for me and the goals that I have, it's definitely on an upward trajectory. I learned over the years that the struggle is part of making art. I actually believe that it's what makes it such an amazing practice. So something that I used to try to avoid, I'm now seeking. Some things become easier, but never really easy because you keep leveling up. So it makes sense that ever since I've started to take my art more seriously, every so often things that should feel simple become difficult. Sometimes it's because I've stopped practicing for a while, which makes sense, but sometimes it happens for no definitive reason. So I have learned not to attach my joy to progress. It's just paint on paper at the end of the day, and I have a good time splashing paint around whatever the results. The process matters more, and I still enjoy that even when I'm struggling. And the struggle is, at the end of the day, what makes you better. It's not a negative sign, even though it might feel painful in the moment, and believe me, it does. Progress over perfection and process over progress. Knowing all of that now, I still sometimes can hear a little voice saying, sorry, you just can't paint anymore, and whatever you do will be terrible from now on. Not only to you, but to everybody else. Or, sorry, this is all you'll ever be able to do. You'll never get better than this. That's it for you. That voice can definitely get louder when I take a break from painting, which, as I explained before, I just did. I guess when I think about it, it makes sense. I was a prolific artist as a child, and then all of a sudden, during my teenage years, I just stopped drawing. I would sporadically get my hands on a pencil and remember how much I love it. I would do it for a while and feel the absolute joy of putting something on a page that wasn't there before, but it would not stick. There was always something more important to do. And that amounted to 10 years of break from anything art related. So I think that fear comes from that time in my life. I have talked about it with other artists, and a lot of us have stopped making art at some point in our lives. I think it's really common. And we felt like we lost a part of ourselves. And it was really hard to get it back. Maybe you are experiencing that now. If you are, I hope you know that art will be there when you come back to it, and that it's worth going through the struggle to get to the other side, and to remember that you love making art. Whenever I need some help with remembering that, I think about how much I loved painting my great grandmother's portrait all those years ago. How natural and normal it felt to me, drawing each lines over her face, and how it made me feel connected to her and to myself in a very special way. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you soon. Bye!